Have you ever reflected on the way you speak, or on how your speech has changed over time? Hello, my name is Moreno, and today I'm going to talk about my linguistic identity. I grew up in Los Andes of Venezuela, in La Fría Táchira, a small town on the border of Venezuela and Colombia. People there address everyone as usted, so of course I learned to speak in that way. I also say words, phrases, and sayings that are typical in Colombia, due to the strong influence of Colombia in my town. That is why many people from the rest of the country notice that I come from Táchira, not only because of my particular accent, but also because of my particular way to address everyone, which is something that they consider respectful, polite, or formal. But to be honest, my intention isn't to address people politely or respectful. It's just the way I speak, the way I acquired my native language. Even some people want me to address them as tú, because the use of the pronoun usted in Spanish means a distance between us or a formal situation. However, I don't feel comfortable when I do it, because that's not me. I can only text people using the pronoun tú, but I cannot hold an oral communication using that pronoun all the time. When I was 17 and I was studying my first career in San Cristobal, a city 2 hours away from my town, my classmates joked around about my accent and the words I used. At that moment, I realized that even when we lived in the same state, my speech was slightly different from theirs. Later, I moved to Caracas, and from the first moment, everyone found out that I came from Los Andes of Venezuela, and a few people thought that I was Colombian because of my accent and my words. Some of these words and sayings that I used in my everyday life are not understood by some people, and from time to time I don't understand what they say. I remember that during my first months in Caracas, I found Caraqueño speech rather rude, and honestly, it was a shock. And it was a shock because their attitudes when they addressed people and their tone were different from mine. At that moment, I realized that my speech was indeed polite and respectful, if compared with the ones I heard in the street. Now that I have been living in Caracas since 2016, I note that my accent and my vocabulary have changed, slightly changed, due to my relationship with Caraqueños. Even my friends from Táchira notice that. Moreover, my relationship with my boyfriend has also modified the way I speak. My boyfriend is an Arab that speaks Spanish, but he always makes grammar mistakes, and sometimes he creates words that of course don't exist. And I have found out that once in a while I make the same mistakes. The fact of knowing other languages has affected my speech in Spanish. For example, when I talk to my friends, I tend to add some English words and phrases, and it happens the same with my boyfriend. I use French words. Plus, when I don't find a word in a conversation, I say it in English, because that's the only word that comes to my mind. In professional context, I adjust my speech according to the situation. For example, when I talk to my students or to my potential students, I try to use the correct words, have a good pronunciation, and speak as clear as possible. While with my friends, I never pay attention to that. To conclude, I can say that my speech with my pronunciation and accent have changed over time, due to the places where I've lived and the people around me. Furthermore, I can say that my speech is not the same in every situation. I'm aware that I have to speak differently depending on the context. If a situation requires more formal or polite speaking,